What if I told you that you might be sitting on a gold mine right in your own backyard? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into a California law that could help you unlock some serious value from your property. Let's get right into it.
So just imagine for a second, you've got your one single property, right? What if you could legally split it, turning it into two distinct sellable assets? That's not a hypothetical. That is the very real power of California's Senate Bill 9, and we're about to break down exactly how it all works.
So you might be asking, why are people even doing this? Well, it really boils down to three main motivations. For some, it's about building a solid nest egg for retirement. For others, it's a way to build a brand new home for a family member, right there on their property. And of course, a lot of folks are doing it to generate some immediate cash by selling off that newly created lot.
All right, so how on earth is this all possible? The key, the piece of the puzzle that unlocks all of this, is a law known as SB 9.
SB 9 is, frankly, a total game changer. It is a state law that gives you, the owner of a single-family home, the right to split your lot into two separate parcels. And get this, you can potentially build up to 2 homes on each of those new lots. Do the math. That's a potential 4 homes where there was once only 1.
Now here's the real kicker, and this is so important. Because SB 9 is a state law, it has the power to override local city rules. This means your city can't just deny your project because they don't like new development. As licensed civil engineer Peter Reichers puts it, the law overrules local zoning and general plan laws. It's a huge shift in power.
Okay, but before you get too excited, it's important to know that not every single property qualifies. So the big question is, do you qualify? Let's run through the checklist.
All right, here are the main things you need to know. First, your property has to be in a single-family residential zone. Pretty straightforward. Second, as the law stands now, you have to sign a document saying you intend to live there for at least 3 years after the split, though stick around because that might be changing. Third, your lot needs to be at least 1,200 square feet, which means even smaller lots can qualify. Fourth, the split has to be fairly even. The smaller of the 2 new lots must be at least 40% of the original size, so you can't just shave off a tiny sliver. And finally, there are a few no-go zones, like historic districts. If you're in the coastal zone, it's possible, but there are a few extra hoops to jump through.
So let's say you've checked all the boxes. You qualify. Awesome. What happens next? Let's walk through the actual game plan.
Now, this isn't really a do-it-yourself kind of thing. You'll work with a specialist firm. First, they do a deep dive to confirm you're 100% eligible. Then, a licensed surveyor comes out to draw up the precise maps. After that, the whole package gets submitted to the city. From there, the utility and fire departments take a look to make sure the new lot is safe and buildable. And once you get all the green lights, the new map is officially recorded. And just like that, you legally have 2 properties.
So how long does this all take? Well, if everything goes perfectly, you could be done in as little as 5 months. But a more typical timeline is somewhere in the 9 to 12-month range. And here's some great news. A recent law, SB 450, now forces cities to give you a yes or no within 60 days of submitting a complete application. That is a huge deal. It prevents cities from dragging their feet forever.
Okay, the elephant in the room. What does this cost? You're generally looking at a range of about $55,000 to $75,000. Now that's an all-in number. It covers the surveyor, the engineer, all those city fees, everything you need to get that new map recorded. It's a significant investment for sure, but here's the really good part. Many of the best firms in this space work on a success fee basis. That means they cover all the upfront costs for you. You only pay them after the lot split is a done deal, approved and recorded. This basically takes all the financial risk off your plate. If for some reason the project doesn't succeed, you don't owe them a dime.
Now, whenever a disruptive new law like this comes along, it's natural for myths and fears to start swirling around. So let's take a minute to bust some of the most common ones we hear.
Okay, myth number 1. My city hates development. They'll just deny my application. The reality? They can't. Because of SB 9, the city's discretion is removed. There are no public hearings where your neighbors can complain. There's no city council vote. If your application meets the objective criteria set by the state, the city's job is to approve it, period.
All right, here's another big one. My property taxes are going to double because I'll have 2 lots. This is a huge misunderstanding. Your home's value doesn't get reassessed under Prop 13. All the tax assessor does is take the current assessed value of your land and splits it between the 2 new parcels. So you might get 2 smaller tax bills, but the total you pay should be almost exactly the same as before. As you can see from this chart, the impact is minimal. The only real increase you'll see is a small annual per-parcel tax. It's usually for county services like vector control, and it's typically just $1,000 or $2,000 a year, a tiny fraction compared to the value you've just unlocked.
And here's something really important to understand. This opportunity isn't static. The law is constantly being refined. And honestly, in almost every case, it's evolving to become even more powerful and easier for homeowners to use.
We already talked about SB 450, that 60-day shot clock for cities, which is a huge win. But look at what else is on the horizon. There's proposed legislation to completely remove that 3-year owner occupancy rule. If that passes, it opens up SB 9 to anyone who owns a rental property, a massive change. And another bill, SB 677, is aiming to stop most HOAs from being able to block you from splitting your lot. The momentum is clearly on the side of homeowners.
So, the bottom line is this. For California homeowners, SB 9 represents a really powerful and still growing opportunity to create significant wealth from the land you already own. Which really just leaves one last question for you to think about. What hidden potential is sitting right there in your own yard?